Never before in modern history has a military like Iran's, with its navy, air force, advanced air defenses, fortified leadership bunkers, and deeply embedded infrastructure, been dismantled so completely, so swiftly, and so decisively. What we witnessed was historic. And it happened because the President of the United States made a choice that previous commanders had hesitated to make. He gave his warfighters the freedom to fight. He untied their hands. He told them to go out, close with the enemy, and destroy them with everything they had, from the very first moment. At Fort Bragg, North Carolina, the 82nd Airborne Division was already in motion. The Division Ready Brigade, roughly 3,000 soldiers strong, is the tip of the spear, the force designed to deploy anywhere on Earth within 18 hours of receiving an order. The order had come in. The clock was running. Across the base, soldiers moved with the kind of focused calm that only comes from years of repetition. In barracks and staging areas, paratroopers packed their rucksacks, clothing, rations, personal essentials. They broke down their M4 rifles on bunks and benches, pulling out bolt carrier groups, wiping carbon and fouling from the metal, working oil into the moving parts, then reassembling and function checking each weapon before setting it aside. Machine gunners opened crates of belted ammunition, feeding linked rounds through their weapons to verify smooth feeding before coiling the belts and packing them carefully into ammunition cans alongside spare barrels and cleaning kits. By first light, every one of these soldiers needed to be off the ground and in the air. Out on the airfield, the work had started long before the soldiers arrived. Ground crews swarmed around a line of C-17 Globemaster III aircraft sitting on the tarmac. Loadmasters directed forklifts carrying heavy pallets and military vehicles up the rear cargo ramps and into the aircraft bays. Armored trucks rolled aboard. Humvees were driven in and positioned. HIMARS rocket launcher vehicles, heavy and powerful, were carefully guided onto the cargo deck and chained down. In the cockpits, pilots were already powering up their avionics suites, navigation systems, radar arrays, flight management computers, running through every check methodically before a single soldier stepped onto the ramp. Then the order reached the hangars. Time to move. Soldiers grabbed their bags and rifles and walked out of the buildings in organized columns onto the airfield. Sergeants reminded them of the basics. Watch your footing when you hit that ground, keep your spacing, stay tight. The C-17s Saturday waiting with their rear ramps lowered. Soldiers walked up to their assigned aircraft carrying duffel bags and hard cases, setting their gear onto the cargo roller system built into the aircraft floor. Inside the bay, soldiers already aboard stacked and compressed the load, pulling cargo straps and tied down cables across everything, locking it in place so nothing would shift during the long flight ahead. The soldiers climbed in and took their seats along the fuselage walls and in the center rows facing each other. The mood was calm, almost casual. Some talked quietly among themselves. Others joked around. A few pulled out their phones for one last look before tucking them away. For most of these men and women, loading onto a C-17 was as routine as catching a bus. This was not their first time. The rear cargo ramp came up first, then the upper door section folded down and sealed against it, locking the aircraft and pressurizing the cabin. The engines came to life, 4 Pratt & Whitney turbofans spooling up one by one, their deep roar filling the airframe. The C-17 taxied to the runway, lined up, and accelerated hard. The heavy aircraft lifted off cleanly and climbed into the early morning sky. 14 hours later, the first C-17 touched down at a military airfield in Qatar. The rear ramp dropped the moment the aircraft rolled to a stop. Offloading began without pause. HIMARS vehicles fired their engines, released their chains, and drove straight down the ramp onto the tarmac. They did not slow down. They drove directly to their pre-assigned firing positions near the border. Armored vehicles followed right behind them. Cargo pallets were pulled clear by forklifts in minutes. The turnaround was fast and disciplined. Out on the water, aboard the USS Abraham Lincoln, Marines were already moving. They filed onto Sikorsky MH-60S Nighthawks and V-22 Ospreys parked on the flight deck, full combat load, rifles slung, body armor fastened, ammunition packed. The helicopters and tiltrotors lifted off one after another and banked toward the Qatari coastline. These Marines were being concentrated at a single location to serve as a rapid reaction force, a large, capable ground element positioned close enough to respond immediately if conditions on the ground changed. They landed in Qatar and moved straight to a forward camp that advance teams had already built out. Tents were up. The perimeter was established. Communications equipment was running. Arriving troops dropped their gear, received quick orientation briefings, and took their positions without delay. Offshore, transport ships had already begun launching amphibious assault vehicles into the water. These armored, tracked machines are built to operate in both environments seamlessly. In the water, rear-mounted water jets push them through the sea at speeds approaching 8 knots, their sealed, buoyant hulls keeping both the crew and the Marines inside high and dry. The moment an AAV reaches the shoreline, the water jets shut down and the vehicle transitions to its tracks, climbing up the beach and moving inland exactly like a conventional armored personnel carrier. Each one can carry up to 21 fully equipped Marines, and each is armed with a turret-mounted machine gun and grenade launcher. Behind the AAVs came the landing craft air cushion vehicles, the LCACs. These are massive hovercraft riding on a pressurized cushion of air generated by enormous rear-mounted fans, skimming across the water's surface at speeds exceeding 40 knots. Each LCAC can move up to 60 tons of cargo, trucks, armored vehicles, heavy equipment, and drives straight from open water directly up onto the beach without stopping or slowing down. The ramp drops, and everything inside rolls off immediately. Humvees, cargo trucks, armored personnel carriers, all of it delivered from ship to shore in minutes. Multiple LCACs made run after run between the transport ships and the beach, shuttling vehicles and supplies until every piece of equipment was ashore and accounted for. Back at the airfield in Qatar, helicopter crews were prepping their weapons. Belt ammunition was loaded carefully into the feed trays of M240 machine guns mounted in the open doors. Each belt was inspected link by link, fed through the receiver, the charging handle pulled back, the weapon made ready. The helicopters lifted off and began flying continuous patrol patterns over the surrounding area, scanning the sky and ground below for Iranian Shahed drones. If a drone appeared on sensors or was spotted visually, the door gunners had clear authority to engage and destroy it before it could reach the troops or the base. The patrols never stopped, one helicopter returning to refuel and rearm as another rose to take its place. The sky above the perimeter was covered at all times, without interruption.